Hey, what it is, guys? I am here with you with another creature review series installment, and this one is going to be a little bit short. And here is why. I have, of course, made a promise to do this video to one of my subscribers, and I gotta be honest though that it's the reason for its shortness is because a lot of the points are just a basic repetition of what is already known and what's already been established in my video, which I've done on my review for the Jurassic Park T.rex. Now here's why I say this. It's because basically this is the Super Mario Odyssey T.rex, which in many ways represents the pretty much direct copycat of Jurassic Park T.rex. It's really obvious. You can see a lot of the similarities in how the proportions are made, in the general looks and the curvature and all of that, and just the form of the and the shape of the skull. In many ways it's representing exactly what JP Rex would pretty much look like, but in a more cartoonish form. So once again, obviously this is not going to be one of those serious reviews, because quite simply it just cannot be, because it's a cartoon-ish character. You can't really give a very serious feedback on a cartoonish character. So but even then, I will do my best and I will try what I can. So, nevertheless, despite the fact that obviously that, you know, there's practically not much that you could say that is accurate. It's mostly at most impressionistic, but it's still, you know, there are some interesting things about it that I enjoyed when I watched the videos of the gameplay where of all the scenes where the T-rex is featured, because it's just really few things about it that just made me laugh genuinely. Like I just really started thinking about it, what it would be like in real life, and well, I kept laughing about it, and that was really worth it, at least. So thank you, my loyal subscriber, for at least providing me with that part of the poor content, because it was worth the laugh as well. Now let's get into it. First of all, it's gonna be pretty hard to pick a very good image, but let me just say, for example, I don't know, maybe this one right here, where we can have something that would in any way resemble a side view. Let's go with that one, and maybe later we will switch to a different image just to kind of emphasize it. But anyways, first thing I noticed that proportionally, of course, the arms are not pronate, you know, they're broken wrists basically, and they're also too big in proportion. They shouldn't be that big, and they should be facing inwards, not down. So that's one of the indications that gave it away to be a copycat of Jurassic Park. One of the exaggerated features I can see in this particular picture, at least, but there's also, if you look even at the other pictures, like where it's lying down, for example, like so, it's quite obvious that the head is just way too big in proportion, and the tail is just too small and skinny. And obviously the feet are really massive as well. They shouldn't be like these big flip-floppy feet. They should be quite a bit smaller and just proportioned somewhat differently. Obviously the tail muscle that connects it to the back of the hip is not very visible here either, so that's completely absent, and that's something I think that Jurassic Park T-rex also got wrong, which I forgot to mention. And now, if we try to find an image with a closer look, I wanted to give a bit of an examination, so to speak, of the head. Now, of course, the problem of looking at its head is because there aren't many decent images that provide a good kind of, angle to it, but I will just try my best to take things into account, like camera perspective and stuff. So let's just say, for example, that this one here is basically, you can see that it's slightly from below, so the lower jaw would look like it's zoomed in a little bit closer. So I'm going to discard the overly exaggerated thickness of the lower jaw. for the purposes of, you know, highlighting that it's obviously a camera angle here that is at play. It's got nothing to do with the actual anatomy. So now, of course, from here I can already see that the teeth are not indicated correctly. They seem to be just typical kind of round shaped in cross section. At least that's what I'm seeing from the angle, but of course I could be wrong here because of the, once again, camera angle and perception that makes it a little bit difficult. But I'm personally not convinced, because I think that they're not getting the teeth right, and that's what the Jurassic Park T-Rex didn't get right either. They should be slightly different. They should be more like a D-shaped in cross section, and you know, just slightly, well, it's a completely different anatomy of a tooth there that should be present, so they're not showing that correctly. And that's obviously, again, I cannot do it being serious about it, because this is just not something I can take seriously, but since I was asked to do it, so I'm gonna try my best to do it and just kind of give an honest opinion. So there's that, of course. Then one other thing to consider is the visible fenestrae on the side of the snout, and not only should it not be visible, but it's also well, it's incorrect because it's too big. The you know, T-Rex skulls don't have fenestrae as big as that. They're just overly top all the way to the front. It shouldn't be like that, actually. It should stop quite a bit early, that's one thing, and secondly, it just shouldn't be visible anyway with all the muscle attachments and you know, when it's fleshed out. It just shouldn't appear like this. So that's another problem that I'm seeing with this representation. The other issue I'm seeing is that even if I look at a side view where it's lying down, you can still see that the lower jaw is as thick as the upper jaw, which also is completely incorrect. That is not how any T-Rex skull looks like. There are some instances in some specimens where some parts are perhaps a bit more robust in comparison, but generally speaking, you will not find that sort of issue with a T-Rex skull. A T-Rex skull is clearly not showing that kind of thickness on the lower jaw as you know, being equivalent. It's like it's in most cases the front part of the lower jaw is at the very least you know, half the thickness of the upper jaw, and that's just not, you know, that's just obviously incorrect. And in some cases, of course, it gets kind of close-ish, but it's still not the same size, and definitely not thicker. And you know, you have to obviously take that into account. Well, what else can I really add to this? I will say that the eye orbits, in contrast to the material that they obviously seem to be kind of taking this design from, like, you know, they don't look like the Jurassic Park's one, because they don't have the pointy eyebrow features. There's actually a more rounded eye orbit, which is something that can be appreciated. Although I don't consider that to be particularly the proper representation of it, but it's still, in my opinion, a lot more, well, somewhat more accurate than I would say that JP did, for example. So there is that point, I guess. The model in general, unfortunately, feels very shrink-wrapped. It doesn't actually provide the, you know, good understanding of the mass, and obviously the proportions are completely off, so all of that together makes it a very big mess. Now, to talk about more of the stuff as far as the in-game content goes, I dare say it was really hilarious to me in some parts, especially when it's just peacefully sleeping, and then you have your player character, well, I would presume it's Mario, who basically, you know, gets inside its head, and like then it grows a mustache and puts on this red cap on top of the head, and also it's just like starts running around and just trashing everything. And well, let's be honest, a T-Rex rampaging around, smashing things, it's just pure fun. We enjoy this regardless of how realistic or not it is. We just enjoy this because we just like to see things being smashed to pieces. And of course murder some of these minions beneath its feet, because, you know, why not? So the other things I found really interesting was how it was, you know, shown how the T-Rex was always trying to ram into it rather than try to bite it by, you know, your player character. He was like, it was just like, okay, I'm gonna smash you, you're still there, you stay where you are, and then it goes boom, and all you have to do is step out of the way, and if it hits the rock, then that's how you basically, while it's still being, you know, dizzy, you can just basically get into its head and start, you know, just doing all your lovely jubbly stuff. So yeah, I mean, it looks like a fun game to play, actually. I wouldn't mind. I mean, last time I've touched Mario was when I was playing them on this old console, which, like, basically the very first original. Like, I'm trying to remember the name of the console. Like, I don't remember the name properly, but you know which one I'm talking about. Especially you who requested the video. I'm pretty damn sure that you would know exactly which one I'm talking about here. So yeah, if it was out on PC, perhaps I would actually not mind playing it. Or even if it was, you know, out for, like, Nintendo Wii or something like that. I don't know if it is, but I think it's only out on a different kind of console, which I don't have, and there's practically no reason for me to get it because I'm not really that into games in terms of, like, you know, I will not buy a console just, you know, a console just for one game, unless it's something that I'm really, really into. And Mario franchise is not something that I'm really into all that much. It's just something that if it ever comes along, it would be something I would be interested to try out just for fun. But there's a chance, obviously, that after having a couple goes at it, I would probably just, you know, leave it on a shelf to collect dust, because I get bored of these kind of games very quickly. In any case, this is probably... What else can I say? Well, the sounds, actually, interestingly enough, aside from this kind of weird sounding roar that is similar to an elephant, which I don't think they would have made, the hissing was very nicely done. There were parts where it was hissing, and that's the sort of sound you hear, you know, a lot among both the crocodilians and also birds hiss as well. So it's perfectly reasonable to predict that dinosaurs could hiss as well. Maybe not all of them, but quite, I'm pretty sure a number of species could do that. And of course, if you amplify the, you know, size factor and how the whole thing would come out from something as big as a T.rex, I can imagine it to be a pretty damn scary hiss. So that was a good part as well. I like that very much. And well, what else can I say? I mean, of course, T.rex wearing mustache is not something I could even consider as a point to look at, because T-Rexes did not have mustache. There is no evidence for it, but joking aside, I don't think it's worth considering it anyway, because it's just a part of the gaming aesthetics, which should not be really looked at in any serious way. But I can say that I was always tempted to think with the whole time when I was looking at this mustache T-Rex, just going like, thinking of T-Rex, speaking with this accent, which I'm probably gonna butcher anyway, so don't throw tomatoes at the screen. But it's like, be like, Mario, how dare you get into my head when you get out? You were out of the family business, and you and your brother Luigi will be plumbers for the rest of your life. Get out of my sight before I kill you again. I'm sorry, I'm just like making up random nonsense as I go along, so none of that is expected to make sense, just so you understand that. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this very short overview. There's really not much more I can add to it other than what has been said already in brief points, and also all of the detailed reviews in the Jurassic Park T.rex. You can pretty much apply quite a lot of points to that to this model as well. So I hope you have enjoyed this small video. So for the future also references, if you guys want to request a creature review, try to kind of select, feel free to experiment with the different options. Don't have to obviously spend hours choosing which would be the right one, because obviously if I see that it's something that I can truly do, whether it's just something that's good for a rant or good for just, to make jokes about, or just generally a valid kind of choice for doing a review, then I will just simply pick it out of the listed options. So feel free to obviously post what you think, but this is just to give you an example of why this kind of work is very hard to review and be serious about it. But doesn't mean I always have to be serious. It means we can have a little bit of fun with it as well. So if you enjoyed my review, please leave a like and thumbs up. Well, it's actually the same thing. And please subscribe, because Mario and Luigi and this T-Rex will appreciate it. Once again, sorry about butchering the accent. It's been t.rex, and I will see you in the next video. Bye now.